Last night I communicated with Erica. The family's devastated. As a commissioner of public safety, as a father, as a husband, I can only imagine what that family's going through. The heinous event that happened yesterday is not Utah. This is not what we're known for. Over the past several weeks, we've seen this state come together to help families in mourning, come together as a community to show what Utah is known for a state of character, of service, of camaraderie, of a neighboring feel. We will not stand for what happened yesterday. We are exhausting every lead. We have every officer invested in this, every investigator, every local agency. The outpouring of support from the law enforcement community has been astounding. We are investing everything we have into this, and we will catch this individual.
Charlie Kirk is dead, and while I do think he's caused immense harm with his political involvement, his assassination does genuinely worry me for 3 reasons. Number one, Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump are very close, and to see his 31-year-old sort of sidekick protege assassinated has got to be one of the most insane things to happen. The second reason is that I'm worried this is going to spark a wave of retaliation. As an activist on the left in Chicago, I do worry about myself or some of the people that I've worked with being targeted. And the third thing is that in the midst of all of this political turmoil, many experts have warned about the rising possibility of a conflict. I doubt that they're going to be like, oh shoot, maybe we shouldn't go down the far right pipeline anymore. I think they're going to double down, and this does genuinely scare me. I think that he said a lot of stupid shit, but assassinating him is different from assassinating Brian Thompson, who had a huge role in a lot of people's deaths. And with tensions already so high, this is definitely going to set off a lot of backlash and cause even further division. It concerns me the number of people cheering on this act of political violence, because what if it's somebody on the left next? It very well.
His wife and kids were there. They were there.
Wives and kids were there when they watched their fathers get deported to a concentration camp. Wives and kids were there when they see the police brutality against black men. There was a school shooting today. Didn't have shit to say about that, did ya? Right? There were kids there that got shot. And it happens all the fucking time. Y'all don't give a fucking shit. If y'all had half as much outrage for school shootings and kids getting shot as much as you do for Charlie Kirk, then they wouldn't exist anymore. I don't expect MAGA to get it, but those of y'all who claim to be activists for the oppressed, when push comes to fucking shove, you're showing your true colors and your fucking ass at the same time. Because those who truly stand up for the oppressed do not have sympathy or empathy for the oppressors.
Honestly, it just feels overwhelming, even to, for some of us in the world of wellness, in the world of mental health, in the spaces of doing both therapy and med management to help people who are so overwhelmed with not just their day-to-day lives. I tell my clients all the time when I flip the table, whatever their stories are that they're coming to me for is resonates. I will be them at any phase of my life. And so that's why it gives me that passion, but it just opens your mind up to maybe knowing a little more about how to manage, how to know patterns of anxiety, depression, and beyond, trauma, presentation, and beyond. But must I say, like the state of our world now, especially what just happened to Charlie Kirk, passing, it just wakes you up to more, like you're so overwhelmed, like what next? And then with co-occurring school pew happening right when his was happening, and a few recent pews, and it's really very common in this part of our world. But not to say there's many other parts of the world that there's a lot of instability, uncertainty happening. What else? Post having COVID and everything, and then that overwhelm, still people still kind of recovering from, and still having this underlining of pews in schools, elementary schools, kids in church, college campuses. Some are real, some are not real. People are existing in state of panic. I'm not gonna lie, there are many times even taking my kiddos to maybe a park, to the movies, to the mall, to big events, to a concert, traveling on the train. Like this recent time, this lady who came from Ukraine escaping and being, and then that person suffering from mental health and just spasm and just unalived her. And you just have this underlying state of, I don't want to be a worry, but you can be so overwhelmed and worry, impact your sleep. Like, I don't know if you guys, it's just like can't sleep. You can make yourself sleep, do all the deep breathing, but just seems like nothing is eating. Like what is gonna settle the nervous system? Yeah, I'm in this world of doing this stuff and doing all those things, and I push all the things and I do all the things, but there's a place in a state where you get to when all this information overload and bad news after bad news. And I'm not one who watches the news at all. Yeah, I'm constantly doing my stuff on here, pushing mental health, wellness, and the more. But then you can't help but think, and that streams of it. And this man is not a man that I typically follow. My base is, like I always say, you gotta have some belief somehow, whether you believe in God, which I believe in God, you believe in the universe, you believe in Allah, you're a Buddhist, whatever. Hey, if you choose to be an atheist, that's you to power of choice. And some of us also came here in this country to have the power of choice, free speech, the ability to be able to own your story. Many of us on here also share parts and bits and pieces of our lives, to share our lives and our stories. But where does it cross the line of, people or someone like him? Like I said, I feel really, really bad for his wife. His children were right there witnessing this quick second. Your life, people's lives completely turned around, changed, traumatized. The life that they knew is completely turned, completely in a whole different direction. Talk about trauma, talk about dysregulation, talk about triggers, talk about depression, anxiety, not knowing what the next is going to look like. And this is the net macro level. I'm not comparing his passing to, people going through separation, divorce, or anything, but based on people's resilience level and building resilience and ability to tolerate the shock in the system, all the levels of grief that can come up with things like being in shock. Unbelievable. Like, I can't believe this is happening right now. People supporting you. And then to this level of where maybe even his children, his family, his wife is listening to people having all this rhetoric about him, the hatefulness towards him, things that he has stood up for. I don't even think I knew about him. Maybe I've seen in passing when the whole election was happening. I've seen him maybe making a speech here and there, whatever. But then just kind of opening my eyes a little more to what it's been talking about. Once this happened yesterday, to talk about some of the extreme stuff that he stands up, especially someone like me who's a person of color, a woman, minority, an immigrant, having children who was first generation, trying to figure it all out, and just to hear some of the stuff that he was standing for and pushing for, and innocent children. I live in Connecticut, and over 10 years ago, that whole pew that happened in that elementary school, like, I don't know how many times that day to day just going to the bus, dropping my sister, I just want to cry. Like, I remember one of the moms saying, just make sure you smell the back of the ears of your children. And then when I look at my son, it's just like, yeah, he just was just out of, whatever grade. He's still lower end of elementary school, by any means, still a super baby. My other child might be growing to a teen, but still a baby. But the fragility of GUN violence is real to many families, and many families have suffered tremendously. The loss has been tremendous, and to have somebody like that who stands for that and takes that for granted and takes Black lives for granted and doesn't embrace the support. Like, you can have your opinion, right? You can have an opinion on whatever the matter is. Like how I talk about, like, maybe men being this, being that, watch out for the signs, but that's part of it. That doesn't make me or any other person who's a feminist a hater of men. You don't go to that extreme where you're just hating every species of men. No, take them for what it is, learn from it, but still give grace and empathy to the beliefs of other people. And this is why sometimes even like some kind of big divide can even happen in marriages, where political mindset, even choice of how you squeeze toothpaste, can be a point of big contention that can lead to divorce. the ability for humanity to not just be able to be fair, considerate, understanding, and say, oh, I can see your point. I can see where you're coming from. I might not agree with it, but I respect it. I respect your choice for whatever it is. And even if I don't respect your choice, I'd be like, okay, yeah, what? That's your choice. Okay, cool. But this is my choice. Okay, cool. And set your boundaries accordingly, whether it's a strict boundary, you close the door and close it empathetically, or parallel close it where you can just still have some type of connection with that person, but be mindful, be intentional. But that doesn't mean you just cut and dry. You are awful, you are good, and it's such black and white. And saying things like empathy, having empathy is new generation terminology, and nobody should really have empathy. Then what are you talking about? You talk about Christ. Christ had empathy for the masses. That's why. If you're a believer, that's why. But
when you don't have a father in the home, the amount of words that a child hears goes down by 60 to 70%. The amount of words that a child, I don't know if you're a mother or not, or plan to be. Okay. No, just it's an important point. The amount of words that an 18-month-year-old hears is highly predictive of IQ, verbal development. Okay, so that's simple. When you don't have a dad in the home, the mom is overwhelmed and there's just less interaction.
You know, it's never going to make sense to me how, regardless of how you feel about a person, watching a video of someone getting executed online and then posting a comment saying, I think he deserved it, the lack of respect, the flippancy, the audaciousness of man at this dispensation of time is truly concerning. You know, it's not shocking because if you're a believer, you already know that the Bible told us that in the last days, this is what it's going to be, right? People are lovers of themselves, selfish. Hearts are stony, cold, hardened towards one another, hardened towards God. There's no way that you can love God and look at something like that and say that someone deserved anything like that. I don't care where you lean politically. This is not a political video. This video is simply about a call to action for those of us who find ourselves in a place where your heart is so stony now that you can look at a video like that and the first thing that comes to your mind is, well, I didn't like him. No way. This is bigger than how you feel. How selfish is it to voice your opinion about how you feel about a person as their family is experiencing one of the worst days of their life? I don't think we value the human beings like we really say we do. And if we did, there would not be anybody commenting stuff like that. I just really sincerely pray for the hearts of our people, like people, all of us. And I'm including myself in it because guess what? Nobody's perfect. Everybody has wickedness in them. That's why we need the Lord. But I really encourage you guys, do not get so comfortable with seeing evil online and thinking and disregarding wickedness because of how you feel about a person. All of us have made somebody feel some type of way in life. Every single one of us have said something at one point that was unfavorable. Every single one of us has somebody in this world that disagrees with 100% of our views. Yet and still, respect still is owed. Flippancy, selfishness, total disregard and disrespect for the lives of others is really killing us as people. And I really pray for a world that really takes on the challenge of loving others like Christ, because that's the only thing that's going to redeem us from all of this wickedness. And I'm praying for the family of Charlie Kirk today, because this is the most horrific thing for his kids, for his wife, for his family to have to witness. And then to add the internet stuff on top of that, it's so sick. Evil cannot win. God will prevail. But I really do pray that we don't participate and take part in adding to it, not willingly anyway.
Y'all sent human beings
to a concentration camp in El Salvador. Then, finally, when that started not working out because El Salvador was getting so much shit worldwide for it, you created a fucking concentration camp in 8 days in Florida, Alligator Alcatraz. And you literally put it there. So if any human being escaped from there, they would get eaten alive from gators. And we're the fucking terrorists against humanity. Got it. Got it.